What up everyone, we're back with the Maverick Resource and we have the fix to the biggest freaking mistake that Ford had on the Ford Maverick. Today we have such an essential fix to the truck, it's amazing. Anyways, in one of my previous videos, performing an oil change, we saw that we have to take off the whole skid plate just to access the drain plug and to access the oil filter. Someone from Rival 4x4 saw that video and saw that heavy steel skid plate from the Maverick Tremor fall on my head, and they graciously sent us their new aluminum lightweight skid plate that has access ports to access the oil filter and the drain plug, so you don't have to take off the whole skid plate. Any of you Maverick owners, you know that you dread doing your own oil change because you have to take off the whole skid plate every time you do an oil change. So this is going to motivate me to change the oil more often. But let's get in this box and see what they sent. To get into the box, you know I love my trusty Mora knife. These are Swedish fixed blade knives that are super sharp, super cheap. You can get them on Amazon for like $10 to $20 depending on the model. I'll leave a link in the description. Get one. Anyways, let's get into this lovely box we got sent out. All right, Ashley. Oh, we missed some sides. Ooh, look at this bad boy. Man, and I could tell already, this thing is so much lighter. I could hold it with one hand here if you could see that in the video. But super light. Looks amazing too, and I love this little cutout they have here. But here are those access ports that we will use to perform oil changes. This is going to be an absolute game changer. I look forward to putting this on so much right now because I do have to perform an oil change pretty soon here, and we're gonna swap the heavy steel plate for this bad boy.
Several days later.
We have the skid plate, we have a little bit of hardware in here, some washers and some bolts, and then the installation directions. But this is supposed to bolt right onto where the existing skid plate goes, so it should be pretty simple. But we'll get to the installation now.
Instead of jacking up the car and putting it on jack stands, we're going to be using these Rhino ramps, which are super convenient to get the car up higher so you can fit underneath. I'll leave a link in the description for these. These are awesome.
All right, first things first, to remove the stock skid plate, we're going to need a Torx 30 bit here for some of the screws at the front of the skid plate. And then we're going to need a 13mm socket. There's 6 bolts that bolt the skid plate to the truck frame as well. All right, to start, there are 4 T30 or Torx 30 screws that attach the skid plate to the front of the vehicle here. And one of mine is gone because I have a little damage from that off-roading trip over in Arizona, if you're watching on those previous videos. So in addition to the Torx bits that are, or the Torx screws that are all in the front, we have about 6 of these 13mm bolts to get the skid plate off the truck. What in the world? It feels stripped almost. That's weird. Actually, wow, look at this. My 13mm socket, the camera could pick that up, is literally splitting. What a cheap socket. You know what? That's my bad. I'm using a Harbor Freight cheapo set of sockets, and I guess you get what you pay for. Here's the socket splitting. So I guess we're gonna have to take a pause and go get some new sockets to get this off. Let's remove these with this guy here. All right, so we're back with another 13mm bolt or socket that hopefully won't break on us here. Let's see. No, we're good. Nice. Let me show you what these look like here. Actually, I'm gonna leave these in so it doesn't fall on me this time. One pro tip someone told me last time when this fell on my head is leave these two in the back end, because it actually slides out towards the front of the vehicle, so you can kind of leave these two in and slide it in and out, so hopefully it catches when I get the rest of these out in front out. All right, so I left the two rear bolts in, and I have this last one in front holding this up. I'm gonna get out of underneath it and start pulling this one off, and then pull it out from the front, hopefully. Let's see how this works. Nice. That actually worked pretty good. All right, so we got the original skid plate off. There she is. Actually feels a lot heavier than the new Rival 4x4 skid plate, so you know what, we're gonna save some weight on this one. If you wanna see the differences between the stock skid plate and the Rival 4x4 skid plate, Rival just looks a lot nicer. It's made out of that nice aluminum. Has the same mounting points. Luckily for the Ford Tremor, the Maverick Tremor, you literally just use the stock mounting system to get this aftermarket skid plate on there. You have your two in the rear, and then you have the two on the side there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 for those Torx 30 fasteners. These ones in the front, I think we're actually going to disregard those because those don't use that stock mounting system, I don't believe. For the Tremor, this skid plate actually fits one of the Broncos Ford sells as well. Anyways, if you have one of the other Mavericks like the hybrid, these skid plates are still available. The mounting will just be a little bit different, but it's really easy. I mean, just fasteners and bolts, pretty basic. And before I install the skid plate on the vehicle, I'm going to remove these two panels, so when we do get it installed, you can kind of see how much room you have to drain the oil or access the oil filter. It's just a hex key here. Oh, I should probably take this off the hammer. Pretty cool. All right, now to install the new skid plate. What we're going to try to do is try to slide the skid plate into these rear bolts that are still attached to the truck, but you can kind of slide them into the slotted skid plate there. But we also need to put the front of the skid plate underneath this flap, so watch me struggle. Maybe we'll try putting in the rear first. I'm gonna have to flop this underneath. I don't know about that plan. This doesn't want to seem to go in very far underneath here. Maybe. Ooh, I got one of them in pretty far. Cool, actually. Oh, come on. Oh, there we go. All right, so the trick is putting in the skid plate underneath this bumper cover a little bit more than usual, and then sliding it back into these bolts. So we'll start tightening up some stuff here. Gonna have to find the holes on these guys. All right, so one thing I'm doing is there's two areas at the top corners here. I just got this one in here. You got to look through those holes and kind of line it up to make sure you could get the bolt in. This one here, let's see, I have to kind of move it a little bit here. There we go. You know, just getting them lined up. Annoying as usual. There we go. I don't know if the camera picks that up, maybe kind of close, but I'm not going to move it right now. So I'm not going to tighten everything too much yet. I want to make sure all the different fastening positions are good. Still have to put these guys in here. Let's see how these work. Oh, yep, those go in pretty easily. That's gonna be cool. Easy peasy. All right, so now that we got the skid plate basically fastened and installed, let's take a look at how it looks to access the oil change spots. Here's the first cutout and I had already removed the panel here, but you can see the oil drain plug there. And then up here, we have access to the oil filter, and it's quite a bit of room. No problem reaching up in there. So that's awesome. That's gonna save us a lot of trouble doing oil changes. All right, one last revelation. To attach the skid plate to these Torx, where the Torx screws were, these guys, we're actually going to replace it with the included hardware that came with the skid plate. There's a number of these bolts that come in. They do screw in through here. We're gonna attach a washer to the bolt. Oh yeah, can't forget, we gotta put these panels back on. So you can see it slides right on like that, and you take these little bolts and just bolt her in. Oops. And actually, one area where I may Dremel a little bit is to access the oil filter here. Here are the rear bolts, and then there's two more bolts up here, but you could see the stock kind of bumper cover covers that hole a little bit too much. I'm trying to put this bolt up in here, it's a little tough, so I may Dremel out this area a little bit here. And so I have my Dremel here, and I'm going to shave it down a little bit through here. I'm sure you could just cut it out, you know, with a razor or something, but I'm going to try to Dremel it. Nice little round area here so I could put these bolts in a little bit easier. So let's see how this goes. Again, I'm not like a pro Dremeler, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You just shave it down with here. Shave this area down here to be able to access here. I'm trying not to hit the aluminum here, just trying to hit the plastic. Got sun in my eyes though. All right, let's see if the bolt fits. Oh, look at that. Perfect little area in there. So that's actually pretty cool. At least I could say I'm crafting something of my own. I'm fabricating now, guys. Just kidding. But look at that. Cut that notch out there and it works perfectly. Boom. Instead of using these fasteners that came on the stock Maverick to fasten the front of the skid plate, we are using the included washer and bolts that came with the skid plate to fasten it up to the front there. So you can see I use those on those front two. And there's my Dremel job there, if you want to see that again for the accessing these the oil filter panel. But if you want to see how the skid plate looks installed, there she is, looking pretty nice there. Boom. So we have the skid plate installed finally. This is going to be make our oil changes much easier. I believe they have skid plates now for the hybrid models and the EcoBoost models, so you're in luck. Taking off the skid plate today to even install this new one, it's such a pain in the butt, and that's exactly why we got the Rival 4x4 skid plate, is so we never have to take it off again, hopefully. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys watching. Please like and subscribe. Hopefully this content helps you out. But I can't recommend the Rival 4x4 skid plate enough, because oil changes are going to be a breeze now. It's a must do. Anyways, until next time, peace out. Thank you for watching. Owning a Maverick and knowing that you have to take off the skid plate each time you change the oil just irks you.